Yep, we can see it.
Awesome. All right, guys. So first we will start off. This is GitHub, right? So open source viewer, good to push your projects to. I'm just on my base right here, github.com, Get Productions. So the first thing I like to point out with GitHub is it's cool to have a README. It's super easy to create one. It's kind of like your profile page for GitHub. So literally just a readme.md file. You can just create a new repo here and go into new and do whatever, .md file, and it'll become your profile page for your README. So I learned about that, to be honest, not too long ago. So I'll give you a little introduction about yourself. And then you have this pin section down here at the bottom, which will either show your most recent, I believe, pushes or projects that you've been actively pushing to GitHub, or if you can set them manually, which is what you can do here. So you can customize your pins just by hitting that button here. And this is the contribution section that Will has kind of touched on, where when we're applying for jobs and a recruiter gets on your GitHub, they just want to see that this is an open source code editor that we can share our code and results at. So it's good to just be actively pushing while you're coding. This will track your daily pushes, your overall pushes. It'll show your repositories and all that. So if I am going to create a new project and I want to actively push, because GitHub is something we can put into our daily coding lives and daily coding endeavors, just learning how to intertwine it. So let's see here. Let's say I'm going to create a folder first of all, and let's put it in MERN. Actually, let's see here. Let me put it down here. New folder. MERN. I'll call it MERN will class. Okay, so I have that repo down there, or not repo, I have a folder at this point. This guy. Oh. Okay, so I created my folder on my desktop. Pull open GitHub here, start a new repository. So if we're first time seeing that, I'll go slower. So I'm on my home page. We have our overview, our repositories. This shows all your projects. So we're trying to start a new repository to capture all the new code that we're about to write. So I will just make it, let's say, I just called it Will's class was the folder. So I'm going to call this repo Will's class day 2. You can give a description of your repository if you want. This is very important here, public and private. Something to note, if it's public, it's open source, right? So we can all view it. If it's private, you need a passcode or you need permissions from the creator. You can add a README if you would like. That's just going to be an overview of your project. You can either do that here or you can do that in VS Code just by making a readme.md file. But really, I don't touch any of this. I just enter my repo name, come down here. We do not need to git ignore, and I just create. So we've created a repository. So in order to link that folder we just created on our desktop and this repository I created in GitHub, it gives us these healthy command lines here. So we got our new repository created. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into VS Code. I'm going to find that folder I just created on my desktop, Coding Dojo. I created it. What's it called? Oh yeah, MERN will class. Okay. So I'm opening VS Code, fresh editor in that. Don't have anything here yet. So let's start a new terminal. In my terminal is where I do all my Git commands. So we can communicate with your GitHub profile through VS. So we have this little cheat sheet right here, and I will copy and paste this in the chat near the end. Okay, cool. So first and foremost, again, we're just following through with this. So first, we're going to initialize our repository with this git init function. So I'm going to go into my terminal, do git init, and it is going, let me see if I can move you guys. So it's going to tell us here, it ran some things on the back end, right? And then it's telling us initialize empty git repo at this location in my memory storage, right? So we see we're at MERN will class. So we do our git init. That's your first command. Then we're going to do, we don't need to add a README. Again, you can manually do that if you want. What we're going to do is set the branch. So we're going to run this command. We're going to set all of our future pushes to the main branch because I'm working in my project only. So I'm going to run git branch m main, capital M. All right. Third step here, third command. We need to assign our VS Code project a remote origin. So we're kind of just following down the line. We started our git init to initialize, our git branch to set the main branch to the current branch that we're on, and then we're adding that connection right here with git remote add origin. So we're just going to copy and paste this whole thing. Come to my code editor, Command V, I'm on a Mac, click enter. So then I tell it, hey, make this connection here. So just for the sake of it, I'm going to create a readme.md so we can push some changes. Okay, just readme. And then here are the 3 commands we can use at all times once our repository is connected to update our repository and to continually push our changes to our GitHub. We can come in here. Let's see if we got a reference for this. All right. We don't have a reference from right here, but what we need to do is we need to run a git add command. And the git add is going to add your changes. But most importantly, we need to do git add space period. That's going to add all of my changes, or what we can say, that's going to stage my changes to get ready to commit and be ready to push to GitHub. So I'm going to add all. And then we're going to come back into GitHub. I think it's kind of odd they didn't have the git. Oh, they have it right here, git add. So yeah, simply we're just adding a document. So git init, git branch, git remote add origin, git add our changes, and now we're going to commit our changes. We're going to write git commit -m. I think that stands for message. We can just do first commit. This is my first commit in this repository. And it's going to show you right there at that main branch that we set in our second command, we have 1 file change and 1 insertion. So that'll tell you, all the changes we made. So we are 1 command away here. I'm just going to copy and paste this last one where we're git pushing all of our changes to our main branch. So I'm going to copy that, paste it, and let's see what we're getting. All right, so you can see git push -u origin main. It's going to enumerate these objects, or basically we'll call it looping through my objects to be able to push them onto GitHub. So at this point, this README in this project should be on my GitHub. So let's come back to our GitHub here. Let's refresh the page. And you'll see, here's my README. And just by doing that git push, that's what adds that push, to your total count in your repositories down here. So contributions. So moving forward and how we can continually implement GitHub are these commands, the git add, git commit, and git push. We can continually and repeatedly do that. And that's when we need to do that when we're working on group projects or when you're working on solo projects, especially group projects. You want to make sure you're updating your repository for your partners to then pull your code down and they can edit it. So let's say we make another change. Let's say we're making an index.html file, just have my starter code. And I'm like, oh, cool, I want to push this change to GitHub. Okay, so let's do git add. Let's add all my changes with the period. Let's do git commit. My changes are staged, but we got to get them ready to actually be pushed to GitHub. So git commit -n, type my message, second commit. Okay, we have 1 file changed, or we have insertions that happen. Then we're going to do git push -u origin main. And again, that means we're pushing to the main branch that we set when we set up our repository. So we push our changes. We see everything that took place, what was added and looped over. We go back to our repo here, or our GitHub. We see we were at 1018. Just do a little refresh here. We're at 1019 pushes. Track that here. And we can go into that repository. And in fact, we will see our most recent update was that index.html page. I know that was a bit fast, but that is kind of my quick and dirty intro to GitHub and how I like to use it open source and how I like to use it in my day-to-day coding. So I'll copy and paste the commands in chat just so you guys see it. But yeah, does that make sense? Was everybody following, or are there any questions?
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, I
Awesome.
hope that
Thanks
was
so much,
helpful.
Gary.
And yeah, of course.